This is Anthony Edwards, and it was this very moment during Game 1 of the Western Conference first round that solidified him as an NBA superstar. Yes, these moments and highlights building up to this made him a household name, but this really blew him up. And despite many remembering this moment, few actually remember the game itself, or the build-up to this iconic matchup. So what really went down to get Anthony Edwards here? I'm Jerry, and this is a Clutch original on the game and build-up that made Anthony Edwards a superstar. Let's rewind to see how it really happened. In 2019, Edwards arrived on the Georgia campus as the top-ranked shooting guard and fourth-ranked player in the country. And arguably, it was this play that put him on the public radar. This ferocious dunk against Vanderbilt in 2020. This was just a sign of what was to come. A month later, he declared for the 2020 NBA draft, also receiving SEC Freshman of the Year, and was a finalist for the Jerry West Award, after getting taken first overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 2020 NBA draft. And starting one season later due to the pandemic, Edwards showed out immediately. This dunk on Yuta Watanabe was the first real NBA dunk highlight of Edwards' career, and put him on the map as an up-and-coming star. He continued his insane rookie campaign with highlight reel dunks, finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. But the T-Wolves finished with the third worst record out west at 23-49. However, 2021 showed significant growth, not just in Minnesota, but in Edwards as well. And people were starting to take notice. Highlight after highlight, and the play of the year, that got called back. Because this insane dunk over Gabe Vincent blew up the Target Center, but was called the charge. And while Anthony Edwards was growing in popularity, many could argue he wasn't a true superstar in the NBA quite yet. These stats don't scream face of the league, but he did have 3 40-point games in 2021, including this 48-point game against the Golden State Warriors, and a then career-high 49 against the San Antonio Spurs. But the most important part of his superstar growth, Minnesota made the postseason in 2021-22, their first playoff appearance since 2018, because after a 30-point performance in their play-in matchup with the Clippers, in Ant's very first official playoff game against Memphis, he had 36 points, the most in a Timberwolves postseason debut ever. Despite losing in 6 games, Ant averaged 25, 4, and 3, further pushing his case as an NBA superstar. However, nobody was screaming Anthony Edwards, face of the NBA quite yet, but he kept getting better. In 2022-23, he had his first All-Star appearance to go with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. And after beating the Thunder in the play-in, to have consecutive playoff appearances for the first time in nearly 20 years, Ant played well, leading Minnesota to the playoffs, despite Karl Anthony Towns missing 53 games. In their first round matchup with Denver, not only did he set the Minnesota playoff record for most points in a game with 41 in Game 2, he also averaged 32, 5, and 5 in 5 games. Everyone was starting to take notice now, and it was the offseason moves of 2023 that pushed Ant from rising star into another level. Following this playoff performance, Edwards signed a 5-year extension with Minnesota that could reach up to $260 million. He also switched his jersey number from 1 to 5, and during the 2023-24 season, Ant's first official signature shoe was released. Because after this viral dunk over John Collins that hit 11 million views across social media, the shoes on his feet sold out in just 2 weeks. Edwards solely took credit for a 30% increase in Adidas stock, and his sneakers were selling for 22% higher on reseller websites like StockX. But even with this first All-NBA second-team honor of his career, a 3-seed finish for the Timberwolves, and a 51-point performance against Washington, Edwards still had more to do to hit that superstar mark. And Game 1 of the Western Conference first round against Phoenix was the moment that Anthony Edwards truly became a superstar. Yeah, not even ferocious dunks or highlight reel plays compared to what this moment did for Edwards. In Game 1, after just 2 points in the second quarter and picking up his third foul late in the first half, Ant's third quarter made him a superstar. Not only did Minnesota outscore Phoenix 31-21, Edwards also had 18 of his 33 in this quarter. And it was this moment that changed everything. After hitting a 3 with less than a minute left in the third, Edwards chirped at KD, amassing millions of views across the internet, and social media having its first real hand and calling Anthony Edwards the next Michael Jordan. Shoutouts from the likes of Kevin Garnett, Pat McAfee, and more. They rode that momentum not only to a 120-95 win to have their first home Game 1 win in 20 years. They also swept Phoenix. And after beating the defending champs in 7 games, everyone, even NBA legends like Tracy McGrady, had this to say about Anthony Edwards. Minnesota reached the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 2 decades, and Anthony Edwards had solidified himself as a superstar in the NBA. Now, there's much more that Edwards needs to do to climb the ranks of NBA superstardom. But accomplishing all this and just being 22 heading into the 2024-25 season, Anthony Edwards is on a trajectory that we've seen from very few in NBA history.